The world was shocked by tragic news from Egypt. The tourist Bathyscaphe Sinbad sank off the coast of the popular resort of Hurghada. There were dozens of Russian tourists on board, and unfortunately there are casualties. What happened? At about 10 o'clock local time, the Bathyscaphe Sinbad, which belongs to the hotel of the same name in Hurghada, set out to sea. It was a routine excursion. Tourists were supposed to dive to a depth of 25 meters to admire the coral reefs of the Red Sea. There were 45 passengers on board, all of them Russians, including children, plus the crew. But a kilometer from the shore, something went wrong. The ship sank. According to the latest information, 6 people died, including 2 children. Another 19 were injured, and 14 Russians are now in hospitals in Hurghada. What happened? Egyptian media initially reported that the Bathyscaphe could have collided with a coral reef. But the survivors tell a different story. One of the passengers, Ekaterina, shared with journalists, "We were just boarding, the hatches were open, and suddenly water started to flood the cabin. Panic set in." Another Russian, Elena, miraculously survived with her husband, but her daughter and mother were taken to hospital in serious condition. According to them, the ship began to sink right at the pontoon even before it sank. Tourists from neighboring boats rushed to help, pulling people out of the water. Rescuers and 21 ambulances arrived quickly, but they were unable to save everyone. Now let's look at the Bathyscaphe itself. Sinbad is a Finnish development created specifically for tourist excursions. It can accommodate up to 44 passengers and is considered reliable. On the Sinbad Hotel website, it is advertised as one of 2 such boats in Africa and the Middle East. The excursion cost about 7,000 rubles for adults and 3,500 for children. But here's what's interesting. Back in 2024, tourists complained about the condition of the ship. They said it was shabby, the ventilation barely worked, the windows were cloudy, and the safety vests were old. Some even recalled that the captain let random passengers take the helm. Maybe that played a role? After the tragedy, the Egyptian and Russian authorities reacted quickly. Egyptian Tourism Minister Sherif Fathi ordered assistance to the victims, and a committee was created in Hurghada to investigate. All Bathyscaphe dives in the area were suspended, and ticket sales were frozen. The Russian Consulate General in Hurghada confirmed that all passengers were Russian citizens who arrived on Biblio Globus packages. The Russian Investigative Committee has already opened a criminal case under the article on violation of transport safety. 38 people were rescued, but the fate of several is still in question. A fire broke out early this morning at the Kervansaray Hotel in Turkey, killing 2 people. Among the dead were 24-year-old Turkish skier Berkin Usta, a participant in the 2022 Winter Olympics in Beijing, and his father, Yahya Usta, president of the Turkish Association of Ski and Snowboard Teachers. The athlete's mother, Fikriye Usta, was hospitalized with smoke inhalation and is under observation. The fire started at about 5 a.m. in the hotel cafeteria and quickly spread to the upper floors of the building. At the time, the hotel was not accepting guests as its license to accommodate them had been revoked in January 2025. However, 12 employees were inside, as well as the Usta family, who lived on the 5th floor. According to preliminary information, the hotel's fire alarm did not go off and the fire extinguishing system was not activated. Yahya Usta reported on the phone that he could not find the fire escape. As a result of the fire, several people were hospitalized with smoke inhalation. Turkish authorities have launched an investigation into the cause of the fire. The Bursa Public Prosecutor's Office has appointed 2 deputies to oversee the investigation, and a special commission of experts has been created. As part of the investigation, the director of the company managing the hotel has been detained. This is the 2nd major fire at a Turkish ski resort in recent months. In January 2025, 79 people died as a result of a fire at the Grand Kartal Hotel in Kartalkaya. And now an incredible story of survival that happened in Alaska. A pilot and his 2 daughters miraculously survived the crash of a light aircraft Piper PA-12 supercruiser. Their plane crashed and fell into the icy waters of Lake Tustumena on the Kenai Peninsula. After the accident, the family spent about 12 hours on the wing of the partially sunken plane, waiting for rescuers to help. That evening, the pilot did not return from a scheduled flight, which alarmed his father. He asked for help on social media, calling for volunteers to join the search. The next day, a group of 10 pilots went to search for the missing plane. One of them, Terry Goads, spotted the wreckage of the plane on the frozen Lake Tustumena. As he approached, he saw 3 people on the wing who signaled to him that they were alive. A rescue operation was immediately organized. An Alaska National Guard helicopter evacuated the victims to a nearby community. According to Lieutenant Colonel Brandon Holbrook, the commander of the aviation regiment, all 3 are out of danger. The man was suffering from mild hypothermia, while his daughters, fortunately, remained almost dry. The fire started this morning at the Acton's University Faculty Hospital. This is the University Hospital of the Mediterranean, one of the main ones in Antalya. The fire broke out in the emergency room at about 10 in the morning local time. The fire quickly spread and thick smoke filled not only the emergency room, but also the neighboring building, the so-called B block with 200 beds. According to initial reports, hundreds of people were evacuated. Patients, doctors, nurses. Among them are seriously ill patients who had to be urgently transferred to other hospitals. Eyewitnesses say the smoke was so thick that visibility dropped to 0. One of the nurses told local media, "We grabbed oxygen tanks and pulled people out. Some were crawling, some were screaming." Patients on stretchers, wheelchairs, and even just in the arms of staff were saving everyone they could. Turkish firefighters threw all their forces into extinguishing the fire. Dozens of vehicles, helicopters for evacuation from the roof, and even drones to assess the scale. There is no exact information about the victims yet, but local authorities say the situation is under control. According to preliminary data, several people were injured, mainly due to smoke inhalation. And now the main question, why did this happen? The official cause has not yet been named. But versions are already circulating on social networks and in the news. Some say there was a short circuit in the electrical panel. They say the old equipment could not withstand the load. Others blame repair work in the department. Allegedly, sparks from the tools got on flammable materials. There are even rumors of arson, but this has not yet been confirmed. The university hospital is a huge complex, and such incidents are rare here. The last time something like this happened was in 2021, but then there was no evacuation. What are the authorities doing? The governor of Antalya has already made a statement. The priority is the safety of people. Not only firefighters, but also police and ambulances arrived at the scene. 15 cars only according to initial estimates. Patients are being distributed to other clinics in the city, including private hospitals. The airport and hotels are operating normally, but social media reports say that the smell of smoke can be felt even in the city center. Bolivia is literally underwater due to powerful floods that have hit the country. More than 50 people have died, hundreds of homes have been destroyed, and thousands have been left homeless. Floods are raging in Bolivia, caused by unusually long and heavy rains. The rainy season here usually lasts from November to March, but this year nature has decided not to stop. Rivers have overflowed their banks, cities and villages are flooded, and the authorities have declared a national state of emergency. President Luis Arce has already made a statement that about 400,000 families across the country have been affected. This is a colossal number. According to the latest data, the death toll has exceeded 50 people. More than 100,000 have been forced to leave their homes. All 9 departments of Bolivia have been affected by this disaster. One region has already been officially recognized as a disaster zone, and 3 more are in a state of emergency. People are losing everything: homes, property, livelihoods. Imagine waking up and your house has just been washed away by water. Scary, right? The hardest hit places were in the town of Achumani in La Paz province. There, the river burst its banks and residents literally ran to the local church to save themselves. Meteorologists say that the red and orange flood warnings that are usually issued in February are valid until April this year. So the situation is not improving yet. But what is the government doing? President Arce has promised help. The Bolivian Congress is currently discussing a loan of almost $80 million from the Latin American Development Bank, CAF. This money will go towards rescue operations and reconstruction. Rescuers are working around the clock, and the army and volunteers are helping to evacuate people from danger zones. But frankly, the scale of the disaster is such that there are not enough resources yet. Bolivia underwater is not just a headline, it is a tragedy that is unfolding right now. In the evening, Accra, Ghana experienced heavy rain, which caused flooding on a section of Highway 1 near the Ofankor barrier. This has led to flooding of roads and hampered traffic. Ghana's President, John Dramani Mahama, concerned about the country's persistent flooding, has set up a task force to combat the problem. The task force has conducted aerial reconnaissance over the Tema fishing harbor, Weju and Sakumo areas to assess flood-prone areas and collect data to prevent flooding. The Ministry of Water Resources, in collaboration with the local government and the Ghana Armed Forces, has begun cleaning up major sewage systems. Strict measures will also be taken against unauthorized construction in water protection zones. Flooding is not uncommon in Accra. Drainage problems, unauthorized construction, and climate change contribute to frequent flooding. According to UNESCO, large waves and floods have eroded the coastline in recent decades, turning some fishing villages into islands. The Ghanaian government is taking proactive steps to address the flooding problem, but long-term measures, including upgrading infrastructure and raising awareness about the importance of building codes, are needed to achieve lasting results. There is alarming news from South Korea. A helicopter crashed while fighting forest fires. Unfortunately, there were casualties in the tragedy. The incident occurred in Wheesong County in the southeast of South Korea. The helicopter that crashed was fighting large forest fires raging in the region. According to South Korean news agency Yonhap, there was only the pilot on board, and unfortunately, he died. The exact model of the helicopter has not yet been specified, but it was one of those used by local authorities to fight fires from the air. It is reported that the crash occurred during an operation to drop water or extinguishing agent on the fires. It is still unknown what exactly caused the accident. Authorities say an investigation has been launched to find out all the circumstances. Footage from the crash site has already appeared on social media. Judging by the photos, there is little left of the helicopter. Debris is scattered on the ground, and it is clear that the impact was strong. Following this tragedy, South Korea made a serious decision. The authorities announced the suspension of flights of the entire fleet of firefighting helicopters. This means that until they find out what went wrong, no other machines will take off. It is a tough measure, but it seems that safety is now a priority. Friends, have you ever seen hail in the tropics? Well, the residents of Achumani, a small town in the La Paz department of Bolivia, can now boast of such a rare sight. The region was hit by abnormal weather. The sky suddenly darkened, and hail the size of grapes fell to the ground. For the highlands of Bolivia, where mild temperatures usually reign, this is a real shock. Meteorologists say that abrupt climate changes and an unusual cold front that came from the Andes are to blame. Locals filmed how ice balls drummed on roofs and roads, and children even tried to play with the hail until their parents drove them home. Fortunately, there was no serious damage, but cars and gardens were damaged. Scientists are already calling this the rarest event in the last 20 years. We are moving to China, to the city of Korla, which is in the Xinjiang Uyghur Autonomous Region. This bustling city literally drowned in sand. A huge sandstorm covered the streets, turning the day into a real dusty night. Visibility dropped to a few meters, and the wind reached speeds of 70 kilometers per hour. Local authorities urged residents not to leave their homes, and drivers were forced to abandon their cars right on the roads. Korla is located near the Taklamakan Desert, and such storms are not uncommon here, but this one turned out to be especially powerful. Social networks were filled with videos of sand covering everything around, and people hiding behind masks and glasses. Environmentalists say that desertification in the region is intensifying, and such phenomena may become even more frequent. By evening, the storm died down, leaving behind tons of sand and a lot of questions about the future of this region. let's move to the Russian Far East, to Petropavlovsk-Kamchatsky. In March, this city was covered in snow so much that residents still can't get out of their yards. Heavy snowfall hit Kamchatka a week ago, bringing more than a meter of precipitation in 24 hours. And although the main roads have been cleared, there are still waist-deep snowdrifts in the yards. People are complaining on social networks. Cars are stuck, children can't go out for a walk, and utility services, it seems, simply can't keep up. Locals are joking that they will soon start sledding right from their balconies. Meteorologists say that this is one of the heaviest snowfalls in recent years, and March in Kamchatka has decided to show its harsh character. Residents have even organized spontaneous brigades to clear the snowdrifts themselves. How do you like this winter fairy tale? Write if you have encountered anything similar. Today we have a story that will give you goosebumps. Imagine you are driving along the road in Malaysia, enjoying the views of the tropics, and suddenly, bam, a huge snake clings to your car and starts riding with you as if it were its personal vehicle. This is exactly what happened in the state of Pahang. A local named Ahmad was returning home in his pickup truck when he noticed that a python over 5 meters long had latched onto his rearview mirror. The snake apparently decided that the car was its ticket to a big adventure. Ahmad didn't lose his head, stopped and called the rescuers, but while they were driving, the python managed to wrap itself around the hood, scaring all the passers-by. The video of this incident has already gone viral on social networks, and for good reason. Experts say that such large snakes often seek out the warmth of engines, especially during the rainy season, which is now in full swing in Malaysia. Fortunately, the python was safely removed and released into the jungle. How do you like such a neighbor on the road? Friends, hold on tight because something incredible is about to happen. In the waters of New Zealand, scientists have encountered a real marine mystery. Recently, divers filmed a video of an octopus literally straddling a shark and riding it like an underwater steed. This happened off the coast of the North Island in March of this year, and since then, researchers have been puzzled. How is this possible? The octopus apparently was not hunting the shark, but simply using it as transport. Marine biologists from the University of Auckland say that this is extremely rare behavior. Perhaps the octopus was trying to escape from a predator or just decided to ride with the wind. The video has already flown around the world, and scientists are planning new expeditions to understand what connects these two sea creatures. Who do you think is the boss in this pair? I'm waiting for your versions in the comments.